master the game. So that means maximize your payout, your comp plan. Like at the end of the day, we have a comp plan, and that comp plan is meant to drive your behavior. Make sure that you are driving towards whatever behavior is being incentivized so that you're maximizing your earnings. Because at the end of the day, we're all in sales to make money.
Welcome, everyone, to the 1% Edge podcast. Here we have the privilege of meeting amazing guests and having conversations about their journey to getting 1% better every day. Today's hot topic, mastering your mindset. What are some personal or professional values you could use to really help you in your own journey to success? And to help us out with that, we have Josh Mechanic, Director of Enterprise Sales at Level Access. Welcome, Josh.
Hi, Carlos. Thanks for having me.
All right, Josh. I'd like to defining the situation first. So, professional values. What do you mean by that?
So, sales is a very complex occupation. It's a complex job, right? At the end of the day, we're solving problems. We're trying to help people make their lives better, their professional lives better if you're in B2B sales. And so there's all kinds of tactics and sales sciences and methodologies that we learn along the way. And I think that there's no shortage of training in that regard. But something that I don't think we learn enough about is just the values that you should carry with you on a daily basis to kind of guide your behavior, and use that as context for everything you learn, like on the job training, sales methodologies, and things like that.
I love it. Just curious, why values versus principles or some other word? I'm just curious.
I think values and principles you could potentially use interchangeably. I wouldn't be offended if you did. You could call it personal principles or personal values, but I guess for me, values is like what's important to me. And so I've got personal values, that are non-negotiable, and then I have professional values that are non-negotiable as well.
All right, I love it. Where do you want to start? Personal side or professional side?
I think personal makes sense because personal kind of guides my professional values.
Sounds
Um,
great.
so I've got four of each. You want me to just rattle all four of them off or start with the first?
Yeah, you can start with the first, however you want it.
All right, well, my very first personal value is family first, and there is no close second. And so for me, that means that my family is the most important thing in the world to me, and that everything that I do is for them or with them in mind. So as I'm going to work, I'm thinking about supporting my family and making sure that they have the best things in life. And that really helps me stay motivated at work.
I like that. All right, I buy it. All right, what's the second?
Integrity always, because karma is real. Um, Karma is this idea that what goes around comes around. The universe has
Right.
a perfect accounting system. If you do something wrong one day, that's going to come back to you one day, right? So integrity, I think, is the foundation of good karma. If you have good integrity, then you have nothing to fear. You're not going to catch yourself in a lie, and everything should fall into place for you because you've got that good karma.
And just defining integrity, is this just about being honest or true to yourself or ethical?
And
Oh,
authentic, which is like
okay.
being true to yourself.
So,
Say what you mean, do what you say,
okay.
that type of thing.
The only thing that I sometimes struggle with is, and I believe in being authentic and true and honest to the core, but sometimes there's the right time to speak your mind, and there's times like, hey, just keep it to yourself. Do you run into that at all?
Well, actually, so my very first professional value, now we're skipping a little bit around, is control the controllable and observe the rest. And so if I'm observing something that bothers me, if it's not something that I can control, then maybe that's time to put a filter on it, to your point.
Okay, so use that as a way to kind of guide you through. Hey, there's one thing about being honest to yourself. It's another one like, hey, not everybody needs to hear your opinion on this thing. Maybe you keep it to yourself, right? It's not going to really help the situation. So hold back a little bit.
Exactly. And I do that all the time at home with my wife. Bite my tongue all the time because, this probably isn't going to go over well.
Josh, after 2 divorces, I'm finally learning. All right, let's go to the third personal one. And I might go back on some of these questions, but I like it so far. What do you got?
Be a lifelong learner. I believe that if we are not learning, we are slowly dying. As soon as you think that you know everything, that's when you're going to appear to be stupid. Um, I do not like to be the smartest person in the room. You see behind me, like I've got books galore. I haven't read all of them cover to cover, but like I skim them. I read some of them cover to cover. Some of them I read more than once. But like I've read books like very early on in my life, like Seven Habits of Successful People by Stephen Covey.
Mm-hmm.
That book changed my life, and I was 17 or 18 when I read that book, and I realized at that point that I always want to be learning, and this goes into my professional values as well. I think my biggest professional fear is becoming an old sales guy, obsolete
Getting stale.
salesperson
Yep.
that's very stale and still, talking about old methodologies from like years and years ago and hasn't caught on to AI revolution and things like this. I've always been afraid of becoming that guy, and that fear drives me forward.
It's interesting on this point about being a lifelong learner. For example, with AI coming out, I can clearly see people at all different ages that are playing with it, embracing it. What is this all about? And I can clearly see ones that are like, oh, it's coming from my job. Oh boy. And, you know, it's that fear of the unknown that, creates all that anxiety in you. Just, roll your sleeves up, try to figure out what it's all about. What can you learn differently? I think that would make a big difference in dealing with this AI change, with all the changes.
Yeah, well, the mindset of it's coming from my job, you can't control that. If it's coming for your job, it's coming for your job. What you can control is what you do right now with AI. Like try to jump on board. Because I've heard other people say, well, it's not coming for your job, it's coming for those that don't embrace AI. Those that are good at AI are going to work with AI like a colleague almost. And so that's what I'm thinking. If it's coming from my job, it's coming from my job. I can't control that. What I can control is, what I learn and how I interact with it right now.
Yeah, my buddy Chad Sanderson, I'm stealing this from him, which he probably stole it from someone else, but it was reps with AI will beat reps without.
Exactly.
And you can apply that to companies and teams. Hey, it's a tool in your toolbox, and if you don't leverage it, you're at a disadvantage
I think it's
out in the
true
workforce.
always.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation recently with my cousin who is, very established in business as well. He sent me a prompt that he had sent ChatGPT, and he was like talking about investment advice. He was trying to figure out like the derivative of this, like all this advanced financial calculations. And my response back to him was, I can't believe we lived without this just 2 or 3 years ago. It's shocking to me. And what's even more shocking is there are people today that aren't embracing it. Like, what are they thinking?
It's so my buddy, one of my other coworkers, Brian Gregory, he's playing with it, and one of the things he did is he did a little stock search, like have it analyze some of these stocks, which would be the top. He's made some money already. It
Yeah.
helped them pick some key players that have done well. And statistically speaking, managed funds don't do any better than darts on a dartboard, by the way,
Yeah.
long term, which
I've
is kind of sad. So, hey, if you could use AI to help you kind of narrow that search and have better educated thing. And the nice thing about it is once you figure out what prompts you want to use, you could save those and just do them over and over again going forward.
Yeah, you could create a product out of it.
Yeah. So I'm a big believer in lifelong learner. I'm constantly trying to read new books or listen to new books these days while I work on or do something because I agree it feeds your brain. I think the key difference is you got to be open to wanting to learn something. So for example, I've had people in my value selling workshop literally say this, Carlos, I've been selling for 10 years. I know what the customer's going to say before they say it. And I just like, are you kidding me? I mean, that's great mindset. I mean, that's what customers love to hear. They want to hear what they're thinking before they even think it.
They want you to listen to them. Understand.
Right. So, all right, you got one more personal value.
Have a plan and work it every day. And so that means a short-term plan, a midterm plan, but most importantly, a long-term plan. And this is something that I did not have in my 20s and even my early 30s. It took me to become 35, 36, 37 before I started to realize that, like, I'm not going to be young forever. I'm going to want to retire one day. I'm not going to want to keep working every single day. And like, I actually need to plan for the future and for retirement. And so have a plan, work it every day refers to the idea that you are paying yourself first, you're investing, you are making sure that you're setting yourself up, your future self up for a life where you don't have to work every day if you don't want to.
Love it. And on this plan, is there a certain time frame? Is it a year out, multiple years out, or a little bit of everything?
Well, it depends if AI is coming for my job and how soon. But no, it's less of a time frame and more of a dollar value, like a nest egg that I want to build, which includes, stocks and cryptocurrencies, but also rental properties, and of course, like your retirement funds and things like this. But I basically want to be able to live off the interest, the rule of 4%. Like you can take 4% of dividends every year from your nest egg and not deplete it. So got a dollar value in mind. I'm about halfway there.
All right, that's fantastic. Yeah, I always had a movie. It's been a moving target, but a plan of, hey, I want to hit this point and not have to work. I didn't say retire. I just don't want to have to work. Another name for it, I called it FU money. So that, if you're really having a bad day, it's not a good fit where you're at, you feel the power to go, you know what? I'm out. This, it's not a good match.
Yep.
I'm moving on. I'm not going to just stay here to have a job.
FU money is a philosophy I'm familiar with. I read it. You might have read the same book. It's called The Simple Path to Wealth.
No, that's a
And they
good
talk
one.
about FU money in that book, just like you described it.
All right. So I got 4 personal ones: family first, integrity, lifelong learner, and have a plan. And I know I didn't do those perfectly, but I liked all of them.
Really good.
Business side, what are some of your core values on business? And I know the first one was control the controllable. I think that's something I love that one that I've been using a lot lately, because everybody goes through waves of uncertainty and, oh my God, in the market and what's happening. It's been, especially depending on what industry you're in these days. And you got to focus on the controllable. But you had another little part to it, which was, what was it? Observe.
Observe the rest.
So you're not ignoring it. You're just keeping an eye on the back burner.
Not only are you not ignoring it, you're observing it with the intention of being able to utilize it in the things that you're controlling, right? Like you might pick up information that you can use that information to your advantage, but you certainly don't want to ignore it. And I think the philosophy of controlling the controllable is like so incredibly important in every role, but like in sales, there are so many things that we don't control. As much as we don't want to admit it, we can't control the market. We can't control the funding. We can't control if the champion leaves. We can't control so many things. There are things that we can control, and those are the things that we need to focus on.
It's funny, and I might get some comments on this one. I was building this house, and I was looking for property to build it on, and there was another part of town that I really liked. It's actually part of this neighborhood, and problem is, it was butting up against the 100-year floodplain. Now, I don't want hate mail whether you're 100% in on global warming or somewhat percent in. The reality is weather is changing, in my opinion. And one of the things I like, talk about control the controllable, I go, I can't control whether global warming is happening or not happening. But what I can't control is whether I build my house higher up or right next to the 100-year floodplain. So I decided to buy a property somewhere else.
Good decision. Good decision.
So far it's worked out well. All right. Number 2 on the business values.
Number 2 is make it happen. Do everything you can. Another way to think about that is, and this is a piece of advice that I got from my very first manager ever. He wasn't a good manager, but this was great advice. He said, mistakes of aggression trump errors of omission, which basically means if you're not sure, just do it. Just do something is better than, oh, I'm not sure, so I'm just not going to do anything. Like it's better to ask for forgiveness than to just not do anything and look apathetic. So I am very much like an ask for forgiveness type of person. I've always been that way in my sales, in my management. I just always like if it makes sense. You can't make it happen and do everything you can if it's like something totally crazy. But if it makes logical sense to you, go for it. And I'm pretty sure your manager is not going to be upset with you if you tried to make something happen.
So this one kind of reminds me back to my first California-based company I went to work for was a company called Clarify. And back then, our offer letters had this motto about do whatever it takes. Now, we didn't mean to do anything unethical for the record. But what the mindset of the founders and people that worked there was is, hey, do whatever it takes. Like in this, put max effort in. We would do all-nighters if we needed to. We would do whatever it could to make it happen
Yeah.
within our control, obviously. And we eventually, for HR reasons, had to take that clause out. But, the mindset didn't, it became part of our culture. And, I look back fondly on my days at Clarify, and it was like a secret fraternity. And because everybody, was young and eager, and, we weren't in number one position, and it created great bonds across the team. So I love that one. All right, what's next?
So if you're going to make it happen and make mistakes of aggression, you have to be accountable. So
Oh,
accountability is the next thing. Own your everything. If you make a mistake, you immediately say, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry I made a mistake. This is why I did it. This is how it happened." And you're just completely authentic and honest about your thought process, your strategy, whatever it was. Even and I realize now that it was at that moment that I made a mistake and I'm sorry. Right? So you're accountable, you own your mistakes, and you learn from them, of course, as well. You're not going to make that mistake again.
so Josh, you're obviously a little younger than I am, and this is one you can call me out on because every generation's got a mixed positive, good and bad. These days, I do have this feeling like there is less accountability than before. But I'm being honest with you. Maybe I'm just getting old, right? Romanticizing my generation over another one where we were just as bad. I just don't see it. But there's seems to be a lack of accountability sometimes in organizations. They don't, hey, it isn't my fault. It's Josh's fault. It ain't my fault. Our product isn't there. It ain't my fault. We're priced too high.
I think, well, so I'm a millennial. I'm actually right on the border of X and millennial. But I identify more, I think, as a millennial. And to your point, I think there is a generational difference. I think that the older generations were more accountable by nature. But I think that it's up to the leader. If we're talking about a business setting, it's up to the leader to set a tone of accountability. And so, even though the majority of my team is younger than I am, and they're from the younger generation, I think that on my team we have a great counter or culture of accountability because that's the tone that we set, and we all expect each other to be accountable. It's not just me, it's like the whole team is accountable to each other. We want to have a good reputation in the company. So I think it's up to the leader, and then it's up to the parents to teach their kids accountability as they're growing up with these younger Generation Zs. And I'm one of those parents. I have an 8-year-old son. Yeah.
It is, and you know, I, we can't control the controller, can't control their upbringing. But I will tell you this: I think, well, statistically speaking, it isn't. I think these are the facts. The majority of the workforce now is millennial and Gen Z. They're the biggest percentage, right? My small little Gen Xers are still in there. Some of the baby boomers are still in there, and a lot of times in organizations, those frontline managers are millennials,
Yeah.
and then their team might be millennials and Gen Zers. And I see them struggle with this concept of accountability. What advice might you have for them to instill that within the team? How do you do that in a way that, makes it a culture of accountability within the team?
Well, when I got my team, so I've been a level access for 10 years and I've been a manager for 5. But last year and the year before, I had a completely different team than the team that I started working with this year. When I started working with them, I created a document called For Team OTL. OTL stands for over the line because we want to sell to over the line buying influences, economic buyers. That's like the theme of our team. But the entire document was like how to work with me and what my expectations are of you and what you can expect from me. And in this document were my personal and professional values that you and I have been discussing, and all kinds of rhetoric like this, like I expect you to be accountable. So like the very first impression that these people had of me was me telling them what my expectations are and what I'm going to do in return for them, which is like, don't ever complain, figure it out. I'm reading right off this document. Be responsible, get the job done, try your best and put your heart in it. Learn from mistakes, don't repeat them. And my promises to you are I'll always help you in any every way that I can. I'll leave you a better seller and a better professional overall. I'll cheer for you to get to your hurdle, which is like not goal. It's like the tier below, if that's the best you can hope for this quarter. So like it's like a mutual relationship. And I set that tone from the beginning with this document as the very first thing they heard from me.
Yeah, so this kind of goes along with this concept that we share with people I coach is, um, you got to basically share what's expected and then measure it. So inspect with the expect, basically. You can't do it if you don't share what your expectations are. If you don't expect them to own it and take some risk and tell them it's okay to fail, but own it, result good or bad at the other end, then it's hard to then inspect it and go, hey, you're not doing the things that I want you to do. Because I used to always say my pet peeve as a Gen Zer, as a Gen Zer, as a Gen Xer was, I hated moving targets. Like, hey, if you expect me to hit this goal, I got it. I got the goal. But don't when I hit the goal, don't move the target on me. Go, well,
Yeah.
now I got this other goal for you.
Story of my life.
It's like I get it. It's a new year. The goals will change and evolve, right? They'll always expect more from you. But during the year, don't make it a moving goalpost. Don't
Oh
change
yeah.
the game on me
Yeah, that's horrible.
because that's dishonest. And
Absolutely.
and again, it goes back to one of my personal values. I guess one of the things is I try to be honest, but I really dislike people that are dishonest.
Yeah. Well, you should. How can you
Yeah.
love somebody that's dishonest? You certainly can't trust them.
Well, this might be a whole long session for therapy, but I agree with you 1,000%. But by the same token, you gotta, try to, as I gotten older, go, hey, they are who they are. I could choose whether I engage with them or not, or find my way around it. But
Right.
I can't let myself get all frustrated because they're a dishonest person or they're that.
Control the
And
control.
yeah, and that's the part that I've had hard times. I've let people like that in my life that impact me for way too long. And I go, you know what? I don't need to deal with that person. And I
Nobody
don't want to
should
deal with that
be
person.
in their life like that. Don't beat yourself.
Uh, Even in hiring a team, I could say in some of these investments I've made in life, we've held on, we've believed in people way longer than we should have. We've given them a million chances, and it's always burnt us. There's never a time we said, "Well, we got rid of them too early." It was
Right.
always we held on to them way too late.
Yeah.
All right, what's the last professional value?
Master the game.
Woo, what's that one
So
mean?
that means maximize your payout, your comp plan. Like at the end of the day, we have a comp plan, and that comp plan is meant to drive your behavior. Make sure that you are driving towards whatever behavior is being incentivized so that you're maximizing your earnings. Because at the end of the day, we're all in sales to make money.
All right, I like that. Especially when you think like, "Oh, maybe this isn't the right position for me." Go, I got it. But if you're here, you got to be the best you can in what you signed up for.
That's right.
If you don't want to be here, that's another story. But you can't be half in and half out.
Right. I mean, it's another example of controlling the controllable.
Agreed. All right. So here's what I got on the professional ones. Again, correct me if I got these wrong. Control the controllable, uh, making it happen, or doing whatever it takes to get to get there, sort of thing. I changed that all at the end. Accountability and mastering the game. And I guess I should go back on your control the controllable. You also had an observe the uncontrollables.
Observe the rest.
The rest, yeah. How'd I do? Did I get that sort of right?
You got them all right, man. You're looking at my screen with me.
All right, Josh. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh goodness. So I live in suburbs of DC, Northern Virginia. I'm a lifelong professional salesperson. I first started selling, or I realized I was good at selling in high school. I sold knives door to door. A lot of
Oh
people
my
don't know.
God, yeah. You got to practice that pitch.
Yeah, you got to practice the pitch, but here's where I knew that I was going to be a better seller. The very first day of that, all the people were there. They're like, all right, your homework is to come in with a list of people that you want to sell these knives to. Basically, they're telling us to create a prospect list. Write as many names down as you can. Everybody else came back with like 8 or 10 names. I had hundreds of names on my list, like ready to go and sell to these people. And so like that was the first sign that I was like a pretty natural salesperson. And then I really did well selling those knives. Um, and so then I started my career. It was subprime mortgages. It was that time. So I ruined the economy, not knowing I was ruining it. But then I was devastated when I realized like what I had done. And I realized like I don't want to sell to consumers. There's got to be like a better way. So I started selling to businesses. And then I was always looking for a mission that I could feel good about. So I sold K-12 software, and then I found Level Access 10 years ago, and we do digital accessibility. So making sure that the internet and mobile applications are accessible to people with disabilities, things that
Cool.
you and I take for granted, like depositing a check on our phone. Imagine being blind and trying to do that. Like, that's what Level Access does. We work with these companies to make sure their technology is accessible. And it's just been an amazing mission. I've grown so much. Every 2 years, it's like a new challenge. And it's just been the ride of my career. I absolutely love it.
It's
Have,
awesome.
have 2 kids, married. I don't know if I said that already. But yeah, that's me in a
No,
nutshell.
that's great. It sounds like you got a lot of things going well. So here's one of my closing questions for you. That's always because I really believe that we learn our biggest lessons through our struggles. So what might be that one misstep or struggle you ran into that taught you some of your biggest lessons?
So remember we talked about have a plan, work it every
Yeah.
day. I did not have a plan. I alluded to this earlier. I did not have a plan until my mid 30s. And I spent most of my 20s investing in real estate. And it was a bad time. Subprime mortgages. Like I also got bit by that bug, bought a house at the wrong time. And I didn't really start paying, they say pay yourself first. Like I didn't really
Mm-hmm.
understood what that meant until, my 30s. So basically now I've got it so every single time I get paid, like automatically money is going to these other accounts that I don't even feel.
Right.
And it's worked very, very well. And I'm like, what if I would have been doing this all the way through my 20s and my early 30s? Like, then I'd be very, very close to where I want to be. And, so that was my biggest misstep is just thinking that I'm going to be young forever and not planning for the future. And I have an 18-year-old daughter. Right now, I'm watching her, have the same exact mentality. I'm trying to get her to do a Roth IRA. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, who cares? But so, I mean, I get it. Pay yourself
Um,
first and start early. That's my mistake.
it's it's tough, dude. I think that even as we learn lessons, we got to recognize it in others that they have to stumble and fall just as well. It's
Absolutely.
Sarah Blakely, the lady who invented Spanx. She's got a really great master class, and one of the things she talks about is her dad encouraged her to fail every day, right? And it's through that failure that you learn. And I was laughing because I was watching this silly show the other day, and this kid was making cookies with her dad, and of course, instead of making individual cookies, she was making this monster cookie, which is not going to cook very well.
Right. It's going
And
to
I
be,
was, and it, yeah, and it hit me as like, do you stop the kid and go, no, you got to make little cookies because that won't work, or do you go, hey, all right, how about this? We'll cut it in half. You make one monster cookie, we'll make the others. and then we'll compare, see, how they taste, and, because you might be onto something big here, but we got to try it out and not be afraid of failure.
Yeah,
And it just hit me like, my God, if I was a parent, I wish I could do something like that with a kid,
I know.
But I think our notions is, no, you're going to do it this way, because that doesn't work, right?
Right.
And we get set in our own ways.
Yeah, it's like the example of giving a fish versus teaching them to fish.
Correct.
Like let
So,
them make the mistake and then they will learn from that mistake.
all right, Josh, I was going to do this after the cup. I'll do this one. One little tip I got for you is, I love your setting the goals, and I did it a lot early on, and I've probably over rotated on work and getting my big financial goal. My only advice to you is add more things to it. What else do you want? What kind of life do you want with your family? What kind of human being do you want to be? And add a little bit to it, because along the way, that's also part of the journey.
That is really good advice and something that's missing. I want to get a boat. That's part of what I want, and the reason why is I want to keep my kids interested in hanging out with me when they get older. As they
Yeah,
become teenagers, they don't want to hang out anymore. But if you have a boat, they want to bring their friends on the boat.
I
Um,
did a boat club. I'll tell you after the podcast, and it's worked out better because I don't have the time to go use a boat, clean a boat, maintain a boat. So the boat club has worked out, is a good compromise, and financially, I go, this has worked out for me.
I did not know that's a thing, but it sounds wonderful.
I'll tell you more about it afterwards. All
Yeah,
right, Josh, let's close out our podcast. If people want to get to know you better and connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
definitely LinkedIn. That's the only social media that I use. Josh Mechanic. If you search me, you'll find me.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I think your four principles, values, personal and business were awesome. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Carlos. I appreciate the invitation. This was a great time.
Awesome. All right, everyone. This does it for this week's episode. Please, if you value the conversation, comment back, subscribe. Love to hear from you. Until next time, I wish you nothing but the greatest success.